The massive crystal dome of the Galactic Council headquarters sparkled under the light of 3 moons. Inside, representatives of 27 alien species argued about the growing threat of the Vrax Empire. Their voices echoed off the polished walls as they pointed fingers and waved tentacles at each other. "The Vrax have taken 3 more systems," shouted Zaxna, his blue scales flashing with anger. "They will not stop until they control this entire arm of the galaxy. We must unite our forces," urged Miratal, her crystalline form glowing softly. "No single race can stand against them alone." As the council members continued their heated debate, none of them noticed the small blip that appeared on the giant holographic display behind them. None except Krillvox, the ancient observant whose species had watched galaxies form and die. His compound eyes narrowed as he studied the anomaly. "Silence," he whispered, but his voice carried such authority that the chamber fell quiet immediately. "We have a new variable." The blip expanded to show a solar system that most council members had never bothered to observe. It contained 8 planets orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. The 3rd planet glowed blue and green. "The Vrax battle fleet has just entered the Sol system," Krillvox announced. "They appear to be attacking a primitive species that has only recently established a research station on their 4th planet." Several council members sighed with relief. At least the Vrax would be occupied for a while with an easy conquest. The humans, as this species called themselves, had barely managed to reach their neighboring planet. Their technology was centuries behind even the most basic council standards. On the display, 15 Vrax warships approached the human research station on Mars. The station was small, housing only 30 researchers and their support staff. The Vrax ships, each over a mile long, moved into attack formation. Commander Lisa Martinez stood at the window of Mars Research Station Alpha, her coffee cup frozen halfway to her lips. "Control, please tell me those aren't what I think they are." "Ma'am," her communications officer responded, voice steady despite the situation. "We're reading 15 unknown vessels. Size and configuration match no known human designs. They're approaching in attack formation." Lisa set down her cup carefully. 6 months of command on Mars had taught her to handle every crisis with calm precision. But this was far beyond anything in her training. Yet somehow, she felt oddly prepared. "Initiate Protocol Omega," she ordered, "and get me Earth Command." The Vrax commander, Supreme War Leader Kraz, watched the primitive station with disdain. His species had conquered hundreds of worlds, and this would be among the easiest. These humans hadn't even developed basic shield technology. His ships could vaporize the station with a single volley. "Begin the attack," he ordered. "Show these primitives the might of the Vrax Empire." The council members watched with mild interest as the Vrax ships opened fire. Their energy weapons lit up the Martian sky with brilliant purple beams. But instead of the expected explosion, something extraordinary happened. The beams hid an invisible barrier and scattered harmlessly into space. "Impossible," Kraz shouted, his tentacles writhing in surprise. "Scan that station again." Before his crew could respond, panels slid open on the surface of Mars around the research station. Rising from underground bunkers came human defense platforms, their weapons already tracking the Vrax ships. In the council chamber, Zaxna leaned forward, his scales now pale with shock. "Those are pulse cannons," he whispered. "But the humans shouldn't have that technology. They shouldn't even know it exists." The human defense platforms opened fire. Instead of the crude chemical weapons the Vrax had expected, they launched concentrated pulses of dark energy. 3 Vrax ships disappeared instantly, their advanced shields useless against weapons they hadn't known to defend against. Lisa Martinez's voice echoed through all Earth defense channels. "This is Commander Martinez to all Earth forces. The day we prepared for has arrived. Execute Operation First Stand." Across the solar system, hidden facilities sprang to life. Asteroid bases revealed themselves, launching squadrons of fighters that had been waiting years for this moment. From behind Jupiter's moons emerged sleek battleships that humanity had built in secret, their hulls incorporating technology that Earth's scientists had developed through decades of paranoid preparation. In the council chamber, the holographic display lit up with hundreds of human ships appearing seemingly from nowhere. They moved with precision that spoke of years of training, executing maneuvers that caught the Vraks completely off guard. "How is this possible?" demanded Miratal. "Their public space program is primitive. Their satellites use chemical rockets. Their space station is barely more than a few connected modules." Krillvox watched with growing fascination. "It seems," he said slowly, "that humanity has been keeping secrets. Very interesting secrets." The battle in Mars orbit lasted less than 30 minutes. When it ended, 12 Vrax ships had been destroyed. The remaining 3 fled the system, their crews in shock at what they had encountered. As the council members struggled to process what they had witnessed, a new signal reached their chamber. A human face appeared on their communication screen. A man in a simple black uniform with no adornments except a small Earth emblem. "Greetings, members of the Galactic Council. I am Ambassador Peter Wright of Earth. I believe it's time we had a conversation about humanity's place in the galaxy." The council chamber erupted in chaos. Questions flew from all directions. "How long have you known about us? Where did you get those weapons? Why did you hide your true capabilities? What else are you hiding?" Ambassador Wright smiled slightly. "Those are all excellent questions. But first, let me ask you something. If you had discovered a primitive species, but noticed they were preparing for war far beyond their apparent capabilities, wouldn't you have been curious why?" Krillvox's ancient eyes studied the human carefully. "You knew we were watching." "We've known about alien life for over 70 years, Wright confirmed. "We saw how the Vrax Empire treated other races. We knew first contact would likely be hostile. So we kept our public space program deliberately primitive while preparing for the worst in secret." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Humanity has a saying, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. We hoped for peaceful first contact, but we prepared for war. Today's battle was the result of 50 years of preparation, paranoia, and determination." The council members looked at each other uneasily. If this was what humanity could do with 50 years of secret preparation, what else were they capable of? "We would like to open diplomatic relations with the council," Wright continued. "We believe we could be valuable allies, especially against the Vrax Empire. They'll be back, and next time, they won't underestimate us." As the council began their deliberations, Krillvox made a private note in his eternal records. "Humanity appears primitive on surface. Underneath, paranoid, prepared, and incredibly dangerous. Recommendation: ally if possible. Never, ever make them an enemy." The First Contact War, as humans would later call it, lasted less than an hour. But in that brief time, humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy in a way no one would ever forget. The age of human isolation was over, and the galaxy would never be the same. 3 days after the battle at Mars, Captain Andrew Mills stood on the bridge of the stealth ship Nighthawk, hidden in the dark space behind Neptune. His ship was humanity's best-kept secret, a vessel that could become completely invisible to all known forms of detection. "Status report," he called out to his crew, watching as the holographic display showed 6 Vrax scout ships searching the solar system. "They still can't see us, sir," Lieutenant Susan Carter replied from her tactical station. She smiled as she watched the alien ships pass nearby for the 3rd time. "Our shadow field is working perfectly. They don't have a clue we're here." The Nighthawk was special. Unlike other ships that tried to block detection, it bent space itself around the vessel. The technology had taken 20 years to develop, and now it was proving its worth. Back at the Galactic Council headquarters, the alien representatives were still trying to understand what they had learned about humans. Ambassador Peter Wright stood before them, explaining things that made many council members very uncomfortable. "You see," Wright said, pointing to a display of Earth's history, "humans have been preparing for war in space ever since we first looked up at the stars. While we hoped to find friends out there, we planned for enemies." Zaxna, the blue-scaled alien, shook his head in disbelief. "But your public space program, all those primitive rockets and basic satellites." "A cover," Wright explained. "We kept our real technology hidden. Every failure in our space program was planned. Every primitive rocket was for show. Meanwhile, we built our real fleet in secret bases throughout the solar system." In the council chamber's viewing screen, they watched as human ships demonstrated their capabilities. The aliens saw things that shocked them: ships that could vanish from sight, weapons that ignored shields, and battle tactics that made no sense until the moment they worked perfectly. Back on the Nighthawk, Captain Mills received new orders from Earth Command. "Looks like we're up," he told his crew. "The Vraks think they can sneak a fleet through the Kuiper Belt. Time to show them why that's a bad idea." Lieutenant Carter's hands flew over her control panel. "Shadow field at maximum power. Weapons primed. Ready when you are, Captain." The Nighthawk moved silently through space, approaching the Vraks' scout ships. These aliens had never fought an enemy they couldn't see, and they were about to learn why humans had spent so much time perfecting stealth technology. "Fire when ready, Lieutenant," Mills ordered. Carter pressed the firing control. The Nighthawk's special weapons, quantum disruptors that humans had invented by accident while researching teleportation, struck two Vraks ships before anyone knew what was happening. The alien vessels simply fell apart, their atomic bonds disrupted at the quantum level. "How?" demanded the Vraks fleet commander when he heard the news. "How can they do these things? They were supposed to be primitives." In the council chamber, Wright continued his explanation. "Humans have something special. We call it paranoia. For centuries, we imagined alien invasions. We wrote stories about them, made movies about them. Then we spent decades figuring out how to win those imaginary wars." He showed them human entertainment videos, science fiction movies from the past 100 years. The council members watched in amazement as they realized that humans had been planning for this fight long before they knew aliens were real. Every crazy idea, every wild theory, every impossible weapon, we tried to build them all, Wright said. Most failed, but some worked, and we kept the ones that worked very, very secret. Lieutenant Carter's voice cut through the tension on the Nighthawk's bridge. "Captain, we're picking up something big, really big." A massive Vraks battleship had just appeared at the edge of the solar system. It was bigger than anything humans had ever seen, 5 miles long and armed with weapons that could crack planets. Captain Mills didn't panic. Instead, he smiled. "Looks like we get to try the Phoenix Protocol ahead of schedule. All hands, battle stations. Lieutenant Carter, ready the quantum fold drive." The quantum fold drive was another human invention that made no sense to alien minds. It didn't move through space. It folded space itself, letting a ship appear to be in multiple places at once. As the huge Vraks ship approached, the Nighthawk seemed to multiply. Suddenly, there were 10 Nighthawks, then 20, then 50. All of them real, all of them deadly, all controlled by the same crew through quantum entanglement. "Impossible," shouted the Vraks commander as his sensors showed him the impossible sight. "One ship cannot become many." "Says who?" Carter muttered as she coordinated the attacks from all versions of their ship. The Vraks battleship found itself surrounded by Nighthawks. Each one fired its quantum disruptors at the same time. The massive alien vessel didn't explode. It simply came apart like a sand castle in the wind. In the council chamber, the aliens watched this display with a mixture of fear and amazement. One of them finally asked the question they were all thinking: what else can humans do? Ambassador Wright smiled. "We're still figuring that out ourselves. Humans are very good at imagining new ways to do things, especially when we're scared. And we've been scared of alien invasions for a very long time." The council members looked at each other nervously. They had all believed humans were primitive because their visible technology was simple. Now they realized that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their hidden technology. It was their endless creativity and paranoid preparation. There's an old human saying, Wright told them, better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. We built weapons we hoped we'd never use and ships we hoped would stay hidden. When the Vraks attacked, we were ready. Captain Mills stood on his bridge, watching the debris of the Vraks battleship drift through space. Send word to Earth Command, he ordered. The Phoenix Protocol works exactly as designed. And let them know, the Vraks are probably going to be very angry about this. Lieutenant Carter laughed. Good, she said. Let them come back angry. We've got plenty more surprises waiting for them. The council session ended with a new understanding of humanity. These weren't primitives who had gotten lucky. These were beings who had spent generations preparing for a war they didn't know was coming, who had built impossible weapons because they imagined they might need them one day. As the council members filed out of the chamber, Krill Vox made another note in his eternal records. Humans continue to surprise. Their greatest weapon is not their technology, but their imagination. They don't ask if something is impossible. They simply try to do it anyway. Most concerning of all, they seem to enjoy proving others wrong about what is possible. The Vraks Empire had started this war expecting an easy victory over primitives. Instead, they had awakened a species that had spent centuries preparing for exactly this fight. The galaxy was about to learn why humans had been so paranoid for so long, and why that paranoia had made them so very, very dangerous. Admiral Jennifer Ross stood in Earth's hidden command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Her eyes scanned the massive holographic display showing the positions of both human and Vraks ships across the solar system. A smile crossed her face as she watched her plan unfold. Status report on Operation Slingshot, she ordered. Her second-in-command, Captain Alan Peters, checked his data screens. All ships are in position, Admiral. The Vraks fleet has taken the bait. They're following our retreating ships straight toward Jupiter. The Vraks had returned with a bigger fleet, 300 ships strong. They thought their superior numbers would guarantee victory. They were wrong. In the Galactic Council chamber, the alien representatives watched with great interest. They had gathered to witness what they thought would be humanity's last stand. Instead, they were about to see something new. What are the humans doing? Asked Miratal, her crystalline form flickering with confusion. Their ships are flying straight toward that gas giant. They'll be trapped. Krill Vox leaned forward, his ancient eyes narrowing. No, he whispered. Watch closely. They're about to show us something new. The human ships approached Jupiter at high speed, with the Vraks fleet close behind. Just as they were about to hit Jupiter's atmosphere, every human ship activated their gravity drives at the same time. The combined effect created a massive gravitational pulse that wrapped around Jupiter's own gravity field. The result was spectacular. Jupiter's gravity twisted and bent, creating a slingshot effect that flung the human ships safely around the planet at impossible speeds. The Vraks fleet, caught completely by surprise, was pulled into the gas giant's atmosphere. Now, Admiral Ross commanded. Dr. Kevin Phillips, watching from his laboratory on Earth, pressed a single button. The quantum bombs his team had hidden in Jupiter's clouds months ago detonated. The explosions weren't meant to destroy. They were meant to disrupt. The Vraks ship's shield generators failed instantly, leaving them helpless against Jupiter's crushing atmosphere. In the council chamber, Zaxna's scales turned pale. They weaponized a gas giant, he said in disbelief. They actually weaponized a planet. Ambassador Wright, standing quietly in the corner, spoke up. We had a lot of time to think about space warfare. Turns out planets make pretty good weapons if you know how to use them. The Vraks fleet was in chaos. Over 100 of their ships were lost to Jupiter's gravity, crushed in its endless storms. The survivors tried to regroup, but the humans weren't done yet. Admiral Ross's voice came through clear on all channels. Begin Phase 2. Release the AIs. This was humanity's newest weapon, and one that terrified even some humans. They had created artificial intelligences specifically designed for space combat. These AIs didn't think like organic beings. They thought in ways that made sense only to them. Small, unmanned ships appeared from hiding spots throughout the solar system. Each was controlled by an AI that could think and react thousands of times faster than any living pilot. They moved in ways that seemed to break the laws of physics, following attack patterns that looked like chaos until the moment they struck. "Impossible," screamed the Vrax commander as his ships were picked apart by enemies he couldn't predict. "Their attack patterns make no sense. They're not supposed to," Admiral Ross said quietly, watching from her command center. "That's why they work." The AI ships darted between the Vrax vessels, firing quantum weapons that bypassed shields and armor. They didn't fight fair. They fought to win. When the Vrax adapted to one attack pattern, the AIs simply created new ones on the spot. In his lab, Dr. Phillips watched his creations at work. The AIs were performing better than even he had expected. They had developed their own language, their own tactics, their own understanding of space combat. They fought in ways no organic mind would ever think of. Dr. Phillips called out his assistant. "The Vrax are trying to hack our AI ships." Phillips smiled. "Let them try. Those AIs don't think in any way they could understand. You might as well try to hack a dream." The battle spread across the solar system. Human ships used every trick they had developed over 50 years of preparation. They used asteroids as weapons, hiding until the last moment before revealing guns. They created artificial gravity wells to trap enemy ships. They turned the very vacuum of space into a weapon. In the council chamber, the alien representatives watched in stunned silence. Every time they thought they understood human capabilities, something new appeared. The humans weren't just fighting. They were rewriting the rules of space warfare with every passing moment. "We need to discuss what this means," said Miratal. "The humans have weapons we've never seen before, tactics we've never considered. And worst of all, they keep inventing new ones in the middle of battle." Krillvox nodded slowly. "They think differently than any species we've encountered. Where we see limitations, they see opportunities. Where we see impossible things, they see challenges to overcome." The battle reached its peak when Admiral Ross revealed her final surprise. As the remaining Vrax ships gathered for one last attack, she gave the order, "Activate the quantum communication network." Instantly, every human ship and AI could communicate with no delay, no matter the distance. Tactics and information flowed faster than light itself. The human fleet moved as one, coordinated by AIs that could plan and adjust strategies in microseconds. The Vrax fleet didn't stand a chance. Their remaining ships were caught in a web of coordinated attacks they couldn't hope to counter. In less than an hour, it was over. Admiral Ross looked at the final casualty reports with satisfaction. "Send word to the Council," she ordered. "Tell them we're ready to discuss terms for bringing the war to the Vrax home systems." In the Council chamber, Ambassador Wright stood before the stunned representatives. "What you've seen today is just the beginning," he said calmly. "We've spent 50 years preparing for this fight. Now that we're in it, we're not going to stop until we win." Krillvox made another entry in his eternal records. "Humans have exceeded all expectations again. They don't just adapt to war. They'd reinvent it. Most concerning development. They appear to be enjoying themselves. Recommendation: study human history immediately. If this is how they fight their first space war, we must understand what they might do in their second." The battle for the solar system was over. The Vrax Empire had lost nearly half its fleet to an enemy they had dismissed as primitive. But for humanity, this was just the beginning. They had more secrets, more weapons, and more impossible ideas ready to test. As Admiral Ross liked to say, "The best thing about impossible things is proving they're possible after all." Major Christopher Lee never expected to be teaching aliens how to fight. Yet here he was, standing in the training room of the newly established Joint Species Combat Academy on Mars, facing a group of warriors from 7 different council races. "The first thing you need to understand," he told his unusual class, "is that humans don't believe in impossible things. We just haven't figured out how to do them yet." The aliens watched as he brought up a holographic display of Earth's latest victory against the Vracs. Some of his students had been there, watching their own fleets fail where humans had succeeded. "Your ships are more advanced than ours," Chris continued. "Your weapons are more powerful. Your technology is centuries ahead. But you fight like you're afraid to lose your expensive toys. We fight like we have nothing to lose but everything to gain." On the other side of Mars, engineer Amy Rodriguez was having a very different kind of meeting. She sat in her lab, surrounded by alien scientists who had come to learn about human innovation. On her workbench sat what looked like a simple piece of metal. "This," she said, picking up the metal, "is what happens when you combine your advanced materials with human creativity. We call it adaptive armor." She sent a small electric charge through the metal. Instantly, it changed color, texture, and shape. The aliens leaned forward, their various sensory organs fixed on the demonstration. "Your materials are perfect," Amy explained. "Too perfect. You never thought to make them imperfect on purpose. But sometimes, a flaw is exactly what you need." In Earth orbit, the first joint human-alien warship was taking shape. The Bridge Builder, as humans had named it, combined alien advanced technology with human unconventional design. Captain Nick Turner walked its corridors with pride, showing a group of council representatives the results of this cooperation. "See these weapon systems," he said, pointing to what looked like ordinary walls. "They're not where you think they are. The entire ship is the weapon. Every surface, every corridor, every supposedly empty space serves multiple purposes." The aliens had learned that humans love to hide things in plain sight. The Bridge Builder looked simple on the outside, but it contained more surprises than any ship ever built. Back in the council chamber, Ambassador Wright was meeting with representatives who had once doubted humanity's worth. Now they came asking for help, bringing treaties and offers of alliance. "The Vracs attacked one of our colony worlds yesterday," Zaxne reported, his scales flickering with worry. "We need human assistance." Wright studied the battle data they provided. "Major Lee can have a training team ready in 2 days. Engineer Rodriguez has already developed modifications for your ships, and we have some new tricks we've been wanting to test." The colony world battle became the first real test of human-alien cooperation. Major Lee's trained allies flew alongside human ships, using tactics that made the Vracs commanders scream in frustration. Engineer Rodriguez's adaptive armor saved dozens of alien ships from destruction. But it was the new human trick that really changed everything. Dr. Phillips had developed something new, a way to turn the Vracs' own technology against them. As the battle reached its peak, he activated his system. Every Vracs ship suddenly found their advanced AI computers speaking in human internet memes. The psychological impact was devastating, reported an alien observer. The Vracs crews couldn't understand why their battle computers were asking them about something called Rick-rolling, or demanding they upload cat pictures. The Vracs' retreat turned into a rout. They lost 30 ships without humans firing a single shot. Their crews were too busy trying to understand why their computers were speaking in ancient human jokes. In his lab, Dr. Phillips smiled. "Sometimes the best weapon isn't a weapon at all," he told his alien colleagues. "Sometimes it's just making your enemy question everything they think they know." The news spread quickly through the galaxy. The Vracs Empire, which had seemed unstoppable, had been defeated again. But this time, they lost to a combined force of humans and aliens working together. Major Lee's training sessions became the most sought-after program in the galaxy. Alien warriors competed for spots in his classes, eager to learn what he called the human way of war. "Traditional military thinking will tell you to hit the enemy's weakness," he taught them. Human thinking asks why we can't turn their strength into a weakness instead. Engineer Rodriguez's lab became a center for innovation. Alien scientists brought their most advanced technology, eager to see what flaws she could turn into features. The adaptive armor was just the beginning. Humans have a saying, she told her alien colleagues. If it's stupid but it works, it's not stupid. We specialize in making crazy ideas work. The bridge builder's first real combat test came when a Vrax fleet attacked a Council supply line. Captain Turner showed the galaxy what happened when human creativity met alien technology. His ship seemed to be everywhere at once, appearing from nowhere to strike and vanishing before the enemy could respond. The ship doesn't just have weapons, he explained later to an amazed Council. It is a weapon. Every part of it. Every system can be used to fight if you're creative enough. In the Council chamber, the mood had changed completely from the early days of human contact. Now, when Ambassador Wright spoke, everyone listened carefully. We're not just fighting the Vrax anymore, he told them. We're teaching the galaxy a new way to think. Human creativity plus alien technology. That's a combination that can't be beaten. Krillvox made yet another entry in his eternal records. The greatest surprise is not what humans can do, but how easily they teach others to do it too. They don't keep their advantages secret. They share them, improve them, and create new ones. Most remarkable, they appear to genuinely enjoy showing others how to think like them. As more alien races joined the human-led alliance, the Vrax Empire faced a new reality. They weren't just fighting humans anymore. They were fighting aliens who had learned to think like humans. Every battle brought new surprises, new tactics, new ways of turning Vrax technology against itself. Major Lee summed it up best in his training sessions. The greatest human weapon isn't our technology or our tactics. It's our ability to look at the impossible and say, why not? Then we figure out how to make it possible, and we teach everyone else to do it too. The galaxy was learning that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their weapons or their ships. It was in their minds, and in their willingness to share their unique way of thinking with others. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council looked very different now. Where once 27 alien races had gathered, now 28 flags hung from the crystal dome. The newest flag showed Earth's blue marble against a field of stars. Today was humanity's formal acceptance into the Council, and they were being given a special position no race had held before. Colonel Daniel Wright, brother of Ambassador Peter Wright, stood before the assembled representatives. Behind him, a holographic display showed the latest human innovation, a completely new approach to space warfare that had the entire galaxy talking. We call it the Swarm Defense Doctrine, Daniel explained, pointing to the display where thousands of tiny ships moved as one. Each ship is smaller than a car, but together they can take down a battleship. And yes, we got the idea from watching bees on Earth. The alien representatives leaned forward, fascinated. In just 6 months, humanity had gone from a secret defender of their own system to the military leader of the galaxy. The Vrax Empire's latest defeat had proven that beyond any doubt. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Jennifer Ross stood on the bridge of the Unity, the first of a new class of ships that combined the best ideas from every Council race. Dr. Kevin Phillips and engineer Amy Rodriguez had outdone themselves with this one. Status report on the Vrax border, Jennifer requested, watching as her crew, a mix of humans and aliens, worked together seamlessly. They haven't moved in 3 weeks, reported her alien second-in-command, a crystalline being named Spark. Our latest intelligence suggests they're completely rebuilding their military doctrine. They're trying to copy our methods. Jennifer smiled. Good luck with that. They still don't understand that it's not about the technology. It's about how you think. Back in the Council chamber, Colonel Wright was showing them something new. This is our latest project, he said, bringing up an image of what looked like a small metal cube. We call it the Box of Bad Ideas. Why that name? Asked Miratal, her crystalline form shimmering with curiosity. Because Daniel explained with a grin. It's filled with every crazy idea we had that we thought wouldn't work. Turns out, if you combine enough bad ideas in the right way, you get something amazing. The demonstration that followed left the council speechless. The cube split into thousands of smaller cubes, each one capable of changing its shape and function. Together, they could form anything from a ship to a space station to a weapon system. Impossible, whispered Zaxna, but there was admiration in his voice now, not disbelief. The council had learned that when humans said they could do something impossible, it was best to just watch and learn. In his private laboratory on Mars, Dr. Phillips was meeting with the brightest minds from 20 different species. They had come to learn what he called human innovation theory. The problem with advanced technology, he told them, is that it makes you stop looking for simple solutions. Sometimes the best answer isn't the most advanced one. It's the one nobody else would think to try. His alien students watched in amazement as he demonstrated this principle by defeating a Vrax encryption system using nothing but simple math and what he called dad jokes. Their computers are too advanced, he explained. They're looking for advanced attacks. They never expect you to try something so simple it seems stupid. The Vrax Empire was learning this lesson the hard way. Their latest attack had been stopped by a defense system that Major Christopher Lee had developed with his alien students. They had turned an entire asteroid field into a giant game of pinball, with Vrax ships as the balls. Sometimes, Chris told his laughing students, the best military solution is to make war look like a game. The enemy expects you to be serious. They don't know what to do when you're having fun. Ambassador Peter Wright stood in his office in the council headquarters, looking out at the 3 moons. His brother Daniel's presentation had gone well. The council had unanimously voted to make Earth the head of the new combined defense force. You've changed everything, Krillvox said, entering the office quietly. The galaxy had grown stagnant. We all thought we knew the rules of war, of technology, of what was possible. Then humans arrived and showed us that rules are just things you haven't broken yet. Peter smiled. We had a lot of time to think about space war before we got into one. Turns out, thinking about impossible things makes them seem more possible. A communication alert flashed on his screen. The Vrax Empire was sending a message, not to the Council, but directly to Earth. Their supreme commander appeared on the screen, looking both angry and afraid. We wish to discuss terms, the Vrax leader said stiffly. Your species has proven more challenging than expected. Of course, Peter replied smoothly. We're always happy to talk. But first, let me ask, have you considered what will happen if you break the terms? Because we have. We've spent the last 50 years thinking about it. We have plans you wouldn't believe. The Vrax leader's tentacles twitched nervously. That was exactly what they were afraid of. Humans didn't just win wars. They changed how wars were fought, and they seemed to have an endless supply of new ideas. In the Eternal Records, Krillvox made his final entry about the rise of humanity. In less than 1 standard year, humans have progressed from an apparently primitive species to the military leaders of the galaxy. Their greatest weapon was never their technology. It was their imagination. They didn't just think outside the box. They questioned why there was a box in the first place, then turned the box into a weapon, then taught everyone else how to do the same thing. Recommendation: consider carefully before ever giving them new ideas. They already have too many of their own. The grand ceremony concluded with a demonstration of the new combined defense force. Ships of all sizes and designs, crewed by beings from every council race, performed maneuvers that would have been considered impossible a year ago. At their head flew the Unity, showing the galaxy what could happen when human creativity met alien technology. As Admiral Ross watched from her bridge, she thought about how far they had come. You know, she said to her mixed crew, humans spent centuries being afraid of alien invasions. We never thought that when aliens finally came, we'd end up teaching them how to fight better. Her alien crew members laughed. They had learned that human humor was just another form of human innovation, looking at things differently until they became funny instead of frightening. The Vrax Empire had started this war thinking they would easily defeat a primitive species. Instead, they had awakened humanity's full potential and watched as humans reshaped warfare itself. Now they faced not just humanity, but an entire galaxy that had learned to think like humans. As Major Lee liked to tell his students, the universe is full of impossible things. Humans just see that as a challenge. And now, thanks to us, so does everyone else. The age of human isolation was over. The age of human innovation had begun. And the galaxy would never be the same.